565, 566, 569, 573, 577, 578, 579, and 590 is that the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with recommendation do pass. Also, your Committee on Finance, to which was re-referred Senate Bill number 85, is that the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with the recommendation do pass. Also, your Committee on Finance, to which were referred Senate Bills numbers 104, 132, is that the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with the recommendation amend and do pass as amended. Also, your Committee on Finance, to which were re-referred Senate Bills numbers 119, 156, and 193, is that the same under consideration, begs leave to report the same back with the recommendation amend and do pass as amended. Signed, Senator Maryland Dondero Loop, Chair. Mr. President, your Committee on Government Affairs, to which were referred Senate Bill number 467 and Assembly Bills numbers 64, 553, 554, 582, and 589, is that the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with the recommendation do pass. Signed, Senator Edgar Flores, Chair. End of reports.
Order of Business 6, messages from the Assembly.
Assembly Chamber, Carson City, May 27, 2025. To the Honorable the Senate, I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Assembly on this day concurred in Senate Amendment 591 to AB 12, Senate Amendment 690 to AB 15, Senate Amendment 772 to AB 39, Senate Amendment 558 to AB 60, Senate Amendments 681 and 776 to AB 79, Senate Amendment 669 to AB 88, Senate Amendment 583 to AB 112, Senate Amendment 740 to AB 121, Senate Amendment 621 to AB 133, Senate Amendment 683 and 747 to AB 148, Senate Amendment 633 to AB 161, Senate Amendment 670 to AB 167, Senate Amendment 677 to AB 185, Senate Amendment 666 to AB 207, Senate Amendment 767 to AB 217, Senate Amendment 671 to AB 227, Senate Amendment 807 to AB 249, Senate Amendment 602 to AB 263, Senate Amendment 695 to AB 269, Senate Amendment 590 to AB 270, Senate Amendment 609 to AB 283, Senate Amendment 683 to AB 319, Senate Amendment 607 to AB 369, Senate Amendment 663 to AB 383, Senate Amendment 603 to AB 392, Senate Amendment 697 to AB 396, Senate Amendment 604 to AB 433, Senate Amendment 665 to AB 434, Senate Amendment 599 to AB 439, Senate Amendment 622 to AB 441, Senate Amendment 680 to AB 448, Senate Amendment 608 to AB 451, Senate Amendment 778 to AB 452, Senate Amendment 623 to AB 457, Senate Amendment 686 to AB 458, Senate Amendment 605 and 736 to AB 478, Senate Amendment 739 to AB 488, Senate Amendment 639 to AB 491, Senate Amendment 641 to AB 496, Senate Amendment 642 to AB 497, Senate Amendment 589 to AB 511, Senate Amendment 600 to AB 527, Senate Amendment 624 to AB 535, and Senate Amendment 643 to AJR 8. Signed, Jason Hadaway, Assistant Chief Clerk of the Assembly. End of messages.
Order of Business 9, motions, resolutions, and notices. Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the above noted people on the screen in the chamber be accepted as accredited press and be allowed use of the appropriate facilities in the building.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Order of Business 10, introduction, first reading, and reference.
Senate Bill 507, introduced by the Senate Committee on Finance, revises provisions relating to the Office of Nevada Boards, Commissions, and Councils standards of the Department of Business and Industry. End of bill.
Senator Cannizzaro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move to suspend Standing Rule number 40 and refer Senate Bill 507 to the Committee on Finance.
You've heard the referral. Are there any objections? Seeing none, so ordered.
That concludes Order of Business 10.
Order of Business 14, unfinished business.
Senate Bill 115, introduced by Senators Cruz, Crawford, and Duñate, and Assemblymember Moore, makes various changes relating to bilingual education. The Assembly has amended this bill with amendment number 612. Does the Senate wish to concur or not concur in this matter?
Senator Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate concur in Assembly Amendment Number 612 to Senate Bill Number 115.
You've heard the motion, Senator Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Amendment 162 to Senate Bill 115 authorizes teachers concurrently enrolled in the bilingual endorsement program and teaching in the bilingual program to receive the annual stipend created by this bill.
Any further remarks on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Senate Bill number 115 is ordered and enrolled, and the Assembly is to be notified of our action.
Senate Bill 140, introduced by Senator Orenshaw, revises provisions governing certain programs of treatment established by the juvenile court. The Assembly has amended this bill with Assembly Amendment Number 660. Does the Senate wish to concur or not concur in this matter?
Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we concur in Assembly Amendment 660 to Senate Bill 140.
You've heard the motion, Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Mr. President. This amendment adds a sponsor to the bill.
Any further remarks on the motion? Seeing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Senate Bill 140 is ordered and enrolled, and the Assembly is to be notified of our action.
Senate Bill 3.
Mr. President.
Senator Cannizzaro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move to take Senate Bill 305 from its place on unfinished business and place it on unfinished business for the next legislative day.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Senate Bill 347, introduced by Senators Scheibel, Cannizzaro, Dondero, Loop, and Pizzina, revises provisions relating to mental health crisis holds. The Assembly has amended this bill with Amendment Number 579. Does the Senate wish to concur or not concur in this matter?
Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we concur in Amendment 579 to Senate Bill 347.
You've heard the motion, Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the bill that we previously discussed on this floor about allowing law enforcement officers to confiscate firearms from people who are in a mental health crisis. Amendment number 579 clarifies that law enforcement officers would be able to take guns in the immediate vicinity of the person or on the person. So we're clarifying that police officers are not going into homes, rummaging through drawers, opening trunks of cars, things like that. It would have to be a firearm that is on the person or in their immediate vicinity. And I hope that we will all concur in this amendment.
Any further remarks on the motion? Seeing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. SB 347 is ordered and enrolled, and the Assembly is to be notified of our action.
Senate Bill 350, introduced by Senator Orenshaw, revises provisions relating to the death penalty. The Assembly has amended this bill with Amendment Number 653. Does the Senate wish to concur or not concur in this matter?
Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we concur in Amendment 653 to Senate Bill 350.
You've heard the motion, Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Mr. President. While the bill itself does extend the time period between the issuance of an execution warrant and the execution of said warrant, the amendment shortens it slightly so it would be 120 days with the amendment. I move that we concur.
Any further remarks on the motion? Seeing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Senate Bill number 350 is ordered and enrolled, and the Assembly is to be notified of our action.
That concludes Order of Business 14.
Fourth agenda of the day, Order of Business 4, reports of committees.
We have no reports at this time.
Order of Business 12, second reading.
Senate Bill 104, introduced by Senator Pizzina, makes an appropriation to the Other State Education Programs account for the creation and maintenance of school gardens. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
I have Amendment Number 870, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Dondero Loop.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
There are no objections. So ordered. Senator Dondero Loop.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move to adopt the amendment.
You've heard the motion. Senator Dondero Loop.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Amendment 870 to Senate Bill 104 reduces general fund appropriations from $2 million to $200,000 in each year of the 25-27 biennium.
Any further remarks on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. SB 104 is ordered reprinted, engrossed, and to the general file.
Senate Bill 132, introduced by Senator Wynn, makes an appropriation to the Nevada Clean Energy Fund for securing and implementing grants for qualified clean energy projects. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
I have amendment number 871, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Dondero Luke.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
There are no objections. So ordered. Senator Dondero Luke.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move to adopt the amendment.
You've heard the motion. Senator Dondero Luke.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Amendment number 871 to Senate Bill 132 to decreases general fund appropriations from $5 million to $500,000, bless you, to the Nevada Clean Energy Fund for securing and implementing grants for qualified clean energy projects.
Any further remarks on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. SB 132 is ordered reprinted, engrossed, and to the general file.
Senate Bill 467, introduced by the Senate Committee on Finance, revises provisions relating to cybersecurity. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 64 is ordered to the general file. Oh, we did a SB 46. Okay. SB 467 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 64, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs, revises provisions relating to public meetings. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 64 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 398, introduced by Assemblymember Yeager, revises provisions governing compensation for certain employees of public schools. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 398 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 544, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, revises provisions relating to certain licenses issued by the Division of Public and Behavioral Health of the Department of Health and Human Services. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 544 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 553, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, transfers the Division of Emergency Management of the Office of the Military to the Office of the Governor. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 553 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 554, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, revises provisions relating to the grant matching account. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 554 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 560, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, makes a supplemental appropriation to the Division of Child and Family Services of the Department of Health and Human Services for an unanticipated shortfall related to the Rural Child Welfare Budget Account. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 560 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 562, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, makes appropriations to the Office of the Secretary of State for costs associated with the voter registration and elections management system and connectivity of automatic voter registration agencies. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 562 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 563, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, makes an appropriation to the Office of the State Controller for the costs of certain consulting services. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 563 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 564, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, makes an appropriation to the Fleet Services Division of the Department of Administration for the replacement and purchase of vehicles. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 564 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 565, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, makes an appropriation to the Supreme Court of Nevada for the cost of the implementation of a statewide trial court electronic filing system. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 565 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 566, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, makes appropriations to and authorizes the expenditure of money by the Division of Museums and History of the Department of Tourism and Cultural Affairs for certain vehicles, tools, and repairs. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 566 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 569, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, makes appropriations to the Department of Veterans Services for certain vehicles and equipment. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 569 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 573, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, makes an appropriation to the Department of Education to carry out the Incentivizing Pathways to Teaching Grant Program. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 and to Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 573 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 577, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, makes appropriations to the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for a certain new website and database and for the replacement of vehicles and computer hardware and associated software. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 and to Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 577 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 578, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, makes appropriations to the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for the replacement of computer and information technology equipment, vehicles, and other equipment, and for certain projects. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 and to Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 578 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 579, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, makes an appropriation to the Department of Education for the replacement of the information technology system for educator licensure. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 and to Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 579 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 582, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, revises provisions relating to the Governor Gwynn Millennium Scholarship Program. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 and to Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 582 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 589, introduced by Assemblymember Yeager, establishes requirements to protect the privacy of certain information and genetic material. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 and to Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 589 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 590, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, makes appropriations to and authorizes the expenditure of money by the Office of the Military for certain projects, programs, equipment, and contractual costs. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 and to Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none.
AB 590 is ordered to the general file.
That concludes Order of Business 12.
Order of Business 13, general file.
Senate Bill 85, introduced by the Senate Committee on Growth and Infrastructure, revises provisions relating to public safety. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 and to Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none. Section 4 and to Section 4, end of bill.
Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 85 allows us to continue the traffic study that we have already been doing for the last 2 years.
Any further remarks from the floor? Secretary will open the roll. Okay, the secretary will open the roll. Anyone wish to change your vote? Secretary will close the roll. Yeses are 11, the noes are 8. SB 85 has received the constitutional majority, is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
Senate Bill 119, introduced by Senator Neal, revises provisions relating to the NV GROW program. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 and to Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
I have amendment number 872, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Dondero-Loop.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
If there are no objections, so ordered. Senator Dondero-Loop.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move to adopt the amendment.
You've heard the motion. Senator Dondero-Loop.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Amendment 872 to Senate Bill 119 reduces the appropriation from the general fund to the College of Southern Nevada to support the Nevada GROW program from $1.9 million to $1.2 million.
Any further remarks on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. SB 119 is now ready for final consideration.
Senate Bill 119, introduced by Senator Neal, revises provisions relating to the NV GROW program. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 and to Section 1.
Are there further amendments?
There are none. Section 6, this act becomes effective on July 1, 2025, end of bill.
Senator Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 119 makes an appropriation of $1.2 million to the College of Southern Nevada to support the Nevada Grow Program.
Any further remarks? Secretary will open the roll. Anyone wish to change their vote? Secretary will close the roll. Yeses are 19, the noes are 0. SB 119 has received a constitutional majority, is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
Senate Bill 156, introduced by Senator Flores, revises provisions relating to the prevention of gun violence. People of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
I have amendment number 847, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Dondero Loop.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
If there are no objections, so ordered. Senator Dondero Loop.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move to adopt the amendment.
You've heard the motion. Senator Dondero Loop.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Amendment 847 to Senate Bill 156 deletes sections 3, 4, 5, 10, and 13 of the bill and includes amendments to sections 7, 8, 9, 11, and 12, including eliminating the creation of the Office of the Prevention of Gun Violence within the Office of the Attorney General, and instead requires the Attorney General to appoint a special counsel for the prevention of gun violence.
Any further remarks on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. SB 156 is now ready for final consideration.
Senate Bill 156, introduced by Senator Flores, revises provisions relating to the prevention of gun violence. People of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there further amendments?
There are none. Section 15, this act becomes effective on July 1, 2025. End of bill.
Senator Flores.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 156, as amended, requires the Attorney General to appoint a special counsel for the prevention of gun violence and sets forth the powers and duties of the special counsel.
Are there further remarks? Senator Buck.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in opposition to Senate Bill 156, which establishes the Office for Prevention of Gun Violence within the Attorney's General Office. While framed as a public safety measure, this bill represents an unnecessary expansion of government bureaucracy and a potential threat to the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens. Let's call this what it is: the creation of a government office tasked with enforcing existing laws, but still shaping public perception on firearms through so-called public awareness campaigns, educational initiatives, and state-funded partnerships with academic and activist institutions. This is ideological advocacy dressed up as neutral policy. SB 156 authorizes the appointment of an unelected bureaucrat with the power to create and fund programs through taxpayer grants, directing public resources to private organizations, NGOs disguised as nonprofits, but those with clear anti-Second Amendment agendas. There are no safeguards ensuring ideological balance, no guarantee that those funds won't be used to stigmatize lawful gun ownership, and no clear metric of accountability. Moreover, the bill enables this office to collect and disseminate data through a centralized resource bank, raising concerns about data privacy and the potential misuse of statistics to push partisan narratives under the guise of gun safety. Gun violence is a serious issue, and so are trucks that plow into crowds of people, killing many. But this bill takes a wrong approach. Instead of enforcing the laws we already have and addressing root causes, this legislation creates a top-down mechanism to influence public opinion and policy in ways that could erode the rights of responsible gun owners. We must not allow our tax dollars to be funneled into political persuasion campaigns masquerading as public service. I urge my colleagues to see through this veiled attempt at ideological overreach and vote no on Senate Bill 156. Thank you.
Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today in support of SB 156 and in frustration. Frustration with colleagues across the aisle who will not work with us on gun violence prevention. At this point, I am stupefied at how we can have a bill to create an Office of Gun Violence Prevention become a partisan issue. If there was ever a bill to address gun violence that did not stray into partisan politics, it is a bill that doesn't actually enact a policy. And I don't mean that to be critical of the bill. I mean that that is its main feature. It does not set the policy. It sets the priority. It sends the message. It gives us the infrastructure, the platform, the opportunity to have robust and meaningful conversations about implementing programs and policies that actually prevent gun violence. By voting no against SB 156, anybody in this body who does that is saying that they don't even care about talking about preventing gun violence, because that is what SB 156 does. It opens the conversation and it keeps it open. If we're not going to vote to even have a discussion about gun violence, then the real veiled attempt here is the attempt to look like we care about the people of Nevada, the children who go to school in Nevada, if we're not going to do anything, not even the smallest measure to create an office that has conversations about preventing gun violence, if we're not willing to do that, then we're literally not willing to do anything to prevent gun violence in Nevada. And that, to me, is not only sad, but unacceptable.
Senator Flores.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the second bite at the apple. I wanted to obviously urge the body to support Senate Bill 156, but also that you understand the genesis of this bill. It is young Republicans and young Democrats from UNLV who brought it forth and asked me to carry this bill on their behalf after the horrible, tragic shooting that occurred at the end of the life of my colleagues as somebody who teaches at UNLV. And they brought it forth because they wanted to make sure that we weren't creating policy that was attacking the Second Amendment, but was addressing the root issue of gun violence. And in order for us to adequately do that, and I say that as a proud gun owner, as somebody that looks forward to in the future having the privilege of taking my son hunting and doing these activities that I've had the privilege of doing myself, the only way we can address these actual conversations and do it in a real way is by allowing us to have an opportunity to bring law enforcement into a room, stakeholders, nonprofits, and different organizations to have a conversation about data and research that helps us understand how we can better prevent the situation that our country is living. We don't get to pretend to care about that while at the same time doing nothing. So now if there was an opposing bill in this building that in any way was talking about gun violence or talking about the tragedies that are happening rather than disguising them, then I would say, beautiful, I appreciate you coming to the legislature and bringing an opposing viewpoint. But instead, we're having the political jargon that happens every single time, the political theater, that you'd rather do nothing and go home and disguise that as a win than to actually engage in this conversation. Go look at the kids and go look at the teachers who had somebody murdered in front of them and tell them, we're not going to engage in this conversation because my political badge matters more. It is absolutely disappointing, and I am tired of this building, and I get it. Everybody's playing the game. We're a few days away, but we got to cut that. We got to cut it out. We're having a real conversation led by students on both sides of the aisle after a tragedy because they feel that this building has never done enough to address the issue. And they brought it forth in a way that we would have an actual conversation that was driven by professionals, by every single stakeholder, and yet we're in here waving the flag, pretending like we're doing something by opposing a bill and going home with the same exact ending. We walk away with this session and did absolutely nothing to address a conversation that these kids are demanding we have because they feel that we are inadequately addressing these concerns. I urge your support.
Any further remarks? Secretary will open the roll. Anyone wish to change their vote? Secretary will close the roll. Yeses are 11, the noes are 8. SB 156 has received the constitutional majority, is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
Senate Bill 193, introduced by Senators Danyate, et cetera, establishes a pilot program to reduce interest rates on mortgage loans to certain eligible borrowers. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
I have amendment number 873, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Dondero-Loop.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
There are no objections. So ordered. Senator Dondero-Loop.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move to adopt the amendment.
You've heard the motion. Senator Dondero-Loop.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Amendment number 873 to Senate Bill 193 revises the effective date of the bill to be July 1st, 2025.
Any further remarks on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. SB 193 is now ready for final consideration.
Senate Bill 193, introduced by Senators Danyate, et cetera, establishes a pilot program to reduce interest rates on mortgage loans to certain eligible borrowers. People of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Senator Donate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 193, as amended, requires the Housing Division to establish a pilot program to bite on the interest rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage loan for eligible borrowers. The only personal remarks that I had was that last year I was very fortunate to buy my first home. I qualified for an FHA loan. I know that there are many Nevadans within my age group that feel that being able to purchase a home is nowhere within reach. I've met plenty of families who have saved to purchase a home, but because of the current economic climate, they're not able to do so. And I believe that this bill would help us, other Nevadans, reach the similar American dream, and therefore I urge my colleagues to vote in support of this bill.
Any remarks from the floor? Seeing none, the Secretary will open the roll. Anyone wish to change their vote? Secretary will close the roll. Yeses are 14, noes are 5. SB 193 has received the constitutional majority, is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly. Senator Cannizzaro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move to take Senate Bill number 309 from its place on general file and place it on the Secretary's desk for the purposes of an amendment.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Senate Bill 92, introduced by Assembly Members Dickman, Gray, DeLong, and O'Neill, and Senator Titus, revises provisions relating to elections. People of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none. Section 2, this act becomes effective on July 1, 2025. End of bill.
Senator Krasner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Assembly Bill 92 requires upon the application by a state or county central committee of a major political party that rooms or spaces in certain public buildings be made available without charge.
Any further remarks? Secretary will open the roll. Anyone wish to change their vote? Secretary will close the roll. Yeses are 19, the noes are 0. AB 92 has received the constitutional majority, is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
Assembly Bill 415, introduced by Assembly Members Carter, Golding, and Dickman, and Senators Titus, Taylor, and Lang, revises provisions governing the towing of motor vehicles. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none. Section 6 into Section 6. End of bill.
Senator Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Assembly Bill 145 revises provisions relating to the removal and disposal of abandoned vehicles.
Any further remarks? Secretary will open the roll. Anyone wish to change their vote? Secretary will close the roll. Yeses are 19, the noes are 0. AB 415 has received a constitutional majority, is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
Assembly Bill 551, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, requires a background investigation of employees, prospective contractors, and prospective contractors of the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services of the Department of Health and Human Services. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
I have amendment number 888, proposed by Senator Danyate.
Senator Donate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
There are no objections. So ordered. Senator Donate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adopt the amendment.
You've heard the motion. Senator Donate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Amendment 888 to Assembly Bill 551 adds the Department of Employment and Training Rehabilitation and adds fingerprinting to the bill.
Any further remarks on the amendment? Seeing none of those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. AB 551 is now ready for final consideration.
Assembly Bill 551, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, requires a background investigation of employees, prospective employees, contractors, and prospective contractors of the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services of the Department of Health and Human Services. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in the Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there further amendments?
There are none. Section 3, this act becomes effective on July 1, 2025. End of bill.
Senator Donate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Assembly Bill 551 requires a Division of Welfare and Supportive Services to obtain information on the background of personal history of prospective employees.
Any further remarks? Secretary will open the roll. Anyone wish to change their vote? Secretary will close the roll. Yeses are 19, the noes are 0. AB 551 has received a constitutional majority, is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
Assembly Bill 588, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections, revises provisions relating to members of the Assembly of the Nevada Legislature. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments?
There are none. Section 17, this act becomes effective upon passage and approval. End of bill.
Senator Orenshall.
Thank you, Mr. President. Assembly Bill 588 replaces the terms assemblyman and assemblywoman with assembly member throughout the Nevada revised statutes, eliminates the authority of a female member of the assembly to have assemblywoman precede her name on an official stationery and business cards. The replacement of such terms additionally has the effect of causing the Department of Motor Vehicles to furnish special license plates to each member of the assembly showing, together with the designated seniority number of the member, state assembly member rather than state assemblyman or state assemblywoman.
Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in strong opposition to this retrograde bill, which is amazing to me that this is being passed by a female majority legislature. Why do we have this in law anyway? It actually goes back to 1989. Here's what the minutes say. Assemblyman Jane Wisdom, District 3, said she had requested the use of assemblywoman to clearly identify the female legislators and to eliminate the confusion of identity now associated with the term assemblyman. The change in the designation of the female legislators is authorized under the Civil Rights Act. So here we are actually taking the right, a civil right I might add, away from my wife, who is very proud to call herself Assemblywoman Hansen, and she is 100% woman. Why are we doing that? Well, supposedly we need to bring the Nevada revised statutes into agreement with the standing rules. Now, the standing rules we don't debate, we don't vote on, we don't have any public hearings, unlike the Nevada revised statutes. So why are we're doing it backwards? We should be making sure our standing rules comply with the Nevada revised statutes, which are all done in public. That's point one. Point two, there's this strange thing going on where all this gender talk. Men are now allowed to be women, and rather than say no to that, we're going to eliminate the use of the word woman for women. We now have men who call themselves women in women's sports, setting new records, I might add. Every darn event that a man runs in a woman's event is amazing. It's the most amazing females in the world. They set all new records. We now have men in women's locker rooms. We now have men getting Title IX scholarships that were supposed to be for people like my granddaughters who are in the university. How is any of this beneficial to women? The entire women's movement that I grew up watching were so proud of the fact that they finally got a Title IX financial scholarship system for women. So I'm just sort of amazed that here we are in the first female majority legislature, and some of the first things that the female majority legislature is doing is eliminating everything about females and women. Are we going to now change that beautiful plaque out there in the hall that we all walk by that has all the pictures from the 2019 session when for the first time in Nevada history we had a majority of women? Because I guess women doesn't matter now, it's just gender. So we can all go out there and eliminate that and say, well, it doesn't matter if it's all men or all women. Women aren't allowed to now have a separate category for themselves. So, you know, everything I've seen so far in this whole building has been remarkably, ironically, hostile to women in the effort to eliminate gender anything. But like I said, when I stood in this very floor and talked about this issue and we had the big Equal Rights Amendment fight, there are very good reasons that we have carve-outs for women. Whether it's sports or bathrooms or locker rooms or scholarships or being allowed, if you are an elected official and you happen to be of the female gender, to call yourself Assemblywoman. And we're going to deny that now to all the women in this building. So to me, Mr. President, it is absolutely going backwards. All the stuff that women work so hard to get, we are now eliminating by allowing men to basically claim all the things that should be exclusively carved out for women, even eliminating the term women in a name and calling everybody a member. I won't poke any fun like I did after the last one we did this in the very first week. But member actually is a medical and legal term for the male phallus. So you can think about that too as we call all the members over there members rather than women or men. Frankly, ladies, I would think you would be proud of the fact that you're part of a female majority legislature. And you would be proud to call yourself an assemblywoman. And when my 9 granddaughters think of their grandmother, they are very proud to say, wow, my grandmother is Assemblywoman Hanson. And so they can think in the future as a woman that they can serve too in the Nevada legislature. Because their grandmother is not a member. She's a proud woman. And she's proud to serve in the first Nevada female majority legislature. Female majority, not member majority. That means there's nothing. Are all 63 of us now just members? You can't distinguish the fact that there are a majority of females in this very chamber? So I would really strongly urge you guys to think, especially when you call yourselves pro-choice on other very critical issues, but here you deny to my very wife the right to call herself a woman, and you then tell me that you're all pro-choice. Well, why don't you give her the chance to call herself what she wants, and all the other females in the assembly? I can guarantee you that if you gave them an actual voice to talk about it and vote, and say, what would you like on your stationery? What would you like on your license plate? What would you like your granddaughters to call you? Because now we're making it a crime, ironically, by pulling this out of the Nevada Revised Statutes. We are taking away a civil right that women in 1989 fought in this very building to pass. So I would urge my colleagues, especially the female colleagues in this chamber, to vote no and proudly say, I'm proud to be a woman. I'm proud that there are assembly women who are the majority in the other house. So I think this is retrograde, and I think for all of those constantly pushing this gender issue, men, whether they have biological surgeries or whatever, are men. They don't belong in your locker rooms, your sports events, your scholarships, and they certainly shouldn't be allowed to take away the right of the women in the Nevada Assembly to call themselves proudly Assembly women. Please, I urge a no vote on Assembly Bill 588. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know the hour is late and I promised to be brief. I just want to address a few things before we take our vote on AB 588. The first thing that I want to mention is that this is restricted to the use of the term assembly member in statute. We are not talking about athletes or student athletes today. We are not talking about any myriad other issues that are involved in discussing, gender theories and gender activism and the fight for equality for LGBTQ people, and especially for trans and gender non-binary and non-conforming people. But I felt compelled to stand and point out that that fight continues and it will continue, and I just could not let those words stand on the floor that there are men in women's locker rooms, or that there are men playing on women's sports teams, or that there are men that are taking things away from women, when the people that we're actually meaning to talk about are transgender women, because transgender women are women, and I will never ever deny that or be persuaded otherwise. I think it is just a basic human dignity to acknowledge people for the gender that they are. And I also wanted to switch gears again and be brief and touch on the issue of having a female majority legislature that is making this decision to move from assemblyman and assemblywoman to assembly member, because I guess I can't speak for every single woman in this chamber or in this body, but I think for many of us, rising to this position of power, rising to this place of influence was about penetrating a bubble that we weren't allowed in before. We often talk about breaking glass ceilings. It was about becoming part of a group, getting into a club that we weren't invited into before. And speaking for myself, it is never my goal to exclude somebody else from that club. We didn't work so hard and we didn't fight so long just to exclude somebody else from serving in the legislature. We recognized that when you excluded approximately 50% of the population from service, you were missing out on fantastic chairs of the Finance and the Ways and Means committees. You were missing out on the greatest majority leader to serve in this body. You were missing out on fantastic assistant majority leaders and champions for healthcare for everybody and for equality for everybody and for improving our educational system. And we recognized that when you're missing out on that huge portion of the population, you want to fix that for everybody and for people going forward. And so I think that the reason that a female majority legislature is making this change is because we recognize what it's like to be locked out of the halls of power. And we don't want to do that to other people. And we don't want to sow division and create artificial differences between our positions and the positions of our colleagues. We can still acknowledge our differences and we can still celebrate how far women have come, all that we have accomplished, both with our male colleagues and as a body in the majority. That is not diminished by the fact that we want to be inclusive. That's really what AB 588 is about being inclusive of everybody and not drawing distinctions based on gender in this particular setting. Saying that there's no difference in the service of a person from one district or another district simply because of their gender. We're all equal in these bodies, and so I wanted to put that on the record before we take this vote on AB 588, and just I hope that we can all share in an appreciation for what having a female majority means, because it is about inclusion, and to me, I think it's about progress, and I'm happy to vote for AB 588 tonight.
Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. President. My colleague from Senate District 9 just exactly made my point. This isn't about merely changing the rules to match up with the standing thing. This is about everything has to be inclusive. But my point is, all this inclusivity is harming women. And everything that I already spoke about. But again, why are in this constant effort at inclusion, you'll notice it always harms women. So I would urge my colleagues, again, to keep in mind that this is part of a giant agenda which is trying to destroy the women in sports, locker rooms, bathrooms, scholarships, and now even in the Nevada legislature. So I'm sorry, this is not merely about trying to make the standing rules comply, the NRS with the standing rules. This is about this whole agenda, which is harmful to women consistently across the board. Vote no on 588. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any further remarks? Secretary will open the roll. Anyone wish to change their vote? Secretary will close the roll. Yeses are 11, the noes are 8. AB 588 has received a constitutional majority, is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
That concludes Order Business 13 on the fourth agenda and the business of the desk for this legislative day.
Order Business 16, remarks on the floor, introduction of guests. Senator Cannizzaro.
Thank you, Mr. President. And again, a thank you to everyone who is here with us tonight, our amazing staff, Sergeant at Arms, everyone who is keeping us up on IT, and all of the folks who make it possible for us to do this job. Thank you for the late evening. We're in the waning days of session, so it's going to be a little late these next few days. But with that, Mr. President, I would move we have done a lot of good work today, and that we stand in adjournment till the hour of 11 a.m. on Thursday, May 29th, 2025.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.